Great. So, hi, Tom. Thanks for joining. Um, for those watching, I'm Katie Loic, and I manage community affairs for Apple's data centers. And we're really excited to talk to you today. Tom Jacobik is the data center site manager at our data center in Maiden, North Carolina. So, Tom, thanks for your time. How about we get started by you telling us just a little bit about yourself and your background?
Great, thank you. Hello, I'm Tom Jacobik, and I manage the data centers for Apple here in Maiden, North Carolina. I've been working in the data center industry about 20 years now, and I've worked with some of the largest companies you may know, such as Google. I've worked with Facebook. I've worked with Oracle. I've worked with a lot of companies that are involved in data centers, and it's really given me a good background and affinity to data centers and what they do and how they do that.
That's great. And so, we're talking about data centers today, but can you actually explain a little bit about what a data center is? Because not everyone knows.
No, that's an interesting question. I get asked that a lot. People want to know what a data center is. The data centers are places where companies like ours store information. We serve applications. We serve access to different products that people use either through the internet, on the web, on their phones. So, like when you ask Siri a question, that request comes to our data center, it interprets the information, then sends the response back out to your phone. Or if you send an iMessage, it goes to the data center, finds where it's going to go, and sends it out there. In addition, when applications are used, so if you're on your phone and you decide that you want to use one of the latest applications or play one of the latest games, that information will be in our data center and downloaded to your phone or your laptop or your iPad, any of the devices that you use to access your information.
That's helpful. So really, your phone wouldn't work the same without a data center.
No, absolutely not. Without the data centers, your phones would be able to send and receive phone calls. They'd be able to send simple text messages, and that's about it, which is what phones used to be until Apple and their data centers really built. And now we have music, we have applications, we have uh, phone books, we have all that information readily available at your fingertips.
That's so cool. So how did you get interested in data centers as a career or technology in general?
Well, it's interesting because I became interested in data centers back when the data center boom was started. A lot of people aren't aware, but data centers really came on in the late 90s. A lot of companies started building data centers because so much more information was available. The internet had grown and they needed places to store that information. I was lucky to get picked up by one of the companies that was a pioneer in the data centers, and I learned a lot about what data centers did. And then I went back to what I did when I was in school. I have a degree from Northwestern University in electrical engineering. So I was very interested in how electronics work, how you deliver power to big buildings, how you do all that work. And it really flowed well into delivering information, delivering uh, applications, storing information on large servers, and then accessing it quickly. And with that, it's helped me prepare to support the many teams that run a data center. There's not just one type of person that runs a data center. We need electricians, we need plumbers, we need engineers, we need programmers, business people. They all work together in helping our facility run effectively. We have teams that work on storage and they make sure that every time you save an email or you save a text or you upload a picture, that those pictures, those emails, those texts are readily available all the time. And it fits in with the Apple thought of it's just working. When you go to get your information, it's there, it just works. And we have hundreds of people behind the scenes that are making sure that servers are running, that the buildings are at the right temperature so they don't overheat, that pipes don't freeze, that people can work in them, and they all work together as one team. And it's a lot of responsibility managing those teams, but it's also very rewarding. There's so much that we do with these people. There's so much that we offer. And every day that I talk to someone and they talk about how much they love their phone or how much they love being able to have their iPad ready for work or for play, drawing on it, I know that I'm an integral part and my team is the backbone for delivering this to those people.
And I'm so glad you said that about the different kinds of teams that we have because, you're an electrical engineer, but I studied communication. And then we have people with all kinds of different backgrounds, at Apple and at the data center. And I think that's part of what makes us so successful and what makes our company innovative and also a great place to work. So I'm really glad to hear you talk about that. So thinking back to when you were, let's say, in like fifth grade, what were you interested in? What drove you to start to get onto this path that eventually led you to become an electrical engineer and work in this industry?
So when I was in middle school, it was when computers just started being available in a format that you could actually use them. So personal computers were new and they're innovative. And I was lucky to be at a school that started an early computer program. So I was able to work with some of the initial personal computers from companies like IBM and PET, and they were uh, multi-chrome computers. They weren't color. You had two or three colors that you could vary, but everything you did had to be scripted. Everything you did had to be programmed. And back then, we didn't have these large hard drives or we didn't have thumb drives. We had tape players and everything you did had to be stored on a tape. And if you made a mistake, you had to erase the tape and redo it. And so it really made you think about what you're doing and expand on your creativity. And I also like math and I like the sciences. So when you added that all together, uh, when I was really looking at a career that I really wanted to be in the data center industry really started up, it was great because it was a combination of different skill sets. So it wasn't just one skill set. One day you may be looking at electrical issues, the other day you may be looking at um, issues with the internet or getting different servers available, or how do we make these things run faster so that they work there.
Hmm.
And as I built my career, I was always interested in how do we do better with what we have, and it fit really well into going into the data center world.
That's great. And it's interesting. I was talking to one of our other data center colleagues, and they were telling me, it's not just about being good at math or enjoying science. Those are great foundational skills, but it really comes down to problem solving. I think what you described is exactly that. You're solving different problems every day, and you work with so many different teams to do that. And I think that that's a huge part of the work that you all do at the data center.
That is correct. And one of the nice things and one of the cool things about it is so many different people come from different areas and offer different skill sets. So you'll be in a room with other people and you'll be looking at a problem, and based on their experiences or their educational background or just things that they did when they were kids, all of a sudden you come up with ideas that you wouldn't have thought of on your own. And at
Hmm.
Apple, it's been great because then we take those ideas and we put it into motion and we make a product and we make it a service and we make it available to our customers.
So true. So let's talk a little bit about the data center in Maiden where you work. So this data center in North Carolina is really special to the company. It's been there for over a decade now. Is there anything unique or special about it or Apple's data center operations in general that you'd like to share?
So yeah, the data center in Maiden is interesting because it was the first data center that Apple actually built for delivering iTunes and iCloud and the mail services. And it is grown uh, significantly to multiple buildings now, and it's a campus. And one of the things that we started early on was making the data center environmentally friendly. What that means is our data centers run on 100% renewable energy. If you look across the street from our main data center, you see a huge solar field. Apple has three of those solar fields just powering the main data center. And what this does is it means that the power that we use doesn't take away from the power that we have for the different communities around us. It also means that it's renewable, so that we're not using coal, we're not using fossil fuels. We're creating this power in a manner that it doesn't take away from the elements of the earth, which is a great thing. The second thing we did is we built the data center in a very conservative manner, which means that we looked at all of the byproducts of the work we did. We reduced our waste, we recycled everything we could, and we actually built this data center putting a footprint into the landfill smaller than the area of an average house. But we
Wow,
built a huge building that has been operating, as you said, for over a decade now.
that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So, outside of work, is there anything that you like to do either for fun or for your community?
Things I like to do for fun, which is really nice about the area in North Carolina, is I like to kayak. There's a lot of lakes around
Mm,
here. It's great. There's a lot of mountains out here if you like to hike, which I love to do, and waterfalls. Some of the things I also do is I like to volunteer in the community. I'm very interested in robotics and how robots are really integrating to almost everything we do. And so I do a lot of work supporting robotics activities in the middle school and high school areas, working with robotics competitions, working with students. And I also do a lot of mentoring in the community. I work with a mentoring program which takes people that are looking at getting out of school and going into either the military or into jobs where they will go to like a community college and helping give them guidance and options and think about different ways to look at what they're going to do for their next step. And it's very rewarding because I get to see people make decisions in their life which help them expand and grow and really gives them a good baseline for achievement and growth.
that's great. I'm really glad to hear that. So, last question that I have for you, Tom, is what advice would you give to students who are, far away from their careers, but starting to think about how the things that they learn in the classroom can eventually turn into, their careers?
So the biggest advice I have for you is sit down and think about the things that interest you in a day. When you're not doing something and you want to go do something, do you turn on television? Do you play with your computer? Do you play video games? Do you go outside and run? What are the things that help you enjoy what you're doing? When you go to school, what are the classes that you get excited for, you look forward to? And it can be anything. It could be English, it could be a math, it could be a science, it could be a technology. But what are those things that you look forward to and look at, okay, if I'm interested in these things, what am I going to be able to do that I can take the things I enjoy doing and I can tie them together and always be open. What you may think uh, you're limited to, you're probably not. A good example, I've got some people that are working for us that worked in a assembly line for car parts. And now they realize that that transfers over to something they more enjoy doing. Or you'll see it at home and you're enjoying writing, but you're not really into technology or computers, but you realize that you can have an impact by writing programs or writing documentation and doing something that you enjoy. So you'll find a career path that's right for you if you really look at what you like doing and how it can tie into something that you can make a career out of.
I couldn't agree with that more. I think that's great advice. Well, Tom, thank you so much for your time today. I think that this was a great conversation. I hope it will help some students learn a little bit more about what we do at the data center in your role at Apple. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And best of luck to anyone who watches this and have a great day. Thank you.